But first, Georgia is a step behind when it comes to preparations for next year's presidential election. As of tonight, Georgia still has yet to set a presidential primary date. All 49 other states have already done that.
So the question is simply this: why? We can blame it on the new voting machines, which the state is still waiting on. 11 Alive's Doug Richards is looking into what's happening and what is not, sadly.
Well, Jeff and Cheryl, 3 years ago, the state was way out front, naming its 2016 presidential primary date. This year, it's way behind. It's not necessarily an issue yet, but as the weeks pass with no date, the concern grows. When Brian Kemp voted last November, the voting machine he first tried to use at his Clark County precinct failed.
He said this was an invalid card,
giving a snapshot of the need to replace the now 17-year-old machines. The state spent much of last year holding hearings and gathering information on what should replace the ballot machines first used in the 2002 election. This year, the state requested bids from voting machine vendors, a mostly secret process that state officials say they can't discuss until after a vendor is chosen. But state officials will say that until a new election system is selected, Georgia can't name a presidential primary date for next year. Democrats will dominate that primary, and Georgia Democrats like Steve Henson are not happy.
I mean, we have about 20 Democratic candidates for president out there, and Georgians want to have their vote early in the process if they can, so that they help decide who the nominee is going to be.
The absence of a Georgia primary date this far in advance can be an issue because local elections officials have to book private facilities, like churches, for election precincts. But most places have already begun to set their calendars for next year. Douglas County Elections Director Milton Kidd told us local officials also have to book in advance poll workers for elections. Next year's presidential primary looks like this. February caucuses and primaries in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and South Carolina. March 3rd is Super Tuesday, with votes likely in 11 states. Georgia has traditionally been part of Super Tuesday. But next year, Georgia's primary could be much later. The final state primaries next year will be June 2nd. Georgia could still fall anywhere within that calendar. The question is where.
It's just problematic that we're about one of the last states in the country to set this date.
Senator Henson acknowledges that the state is undergoing a huge, somewhat delicate, and perhaps time-consuming task changing out its voting process and machines. The Secretary of State's office is staying tight-lipped, also because they don't want to say anything that would harm the process currently underway to choose a new provider of voting machines. Jeff.
All right, Doug.